Hello, everybody. Here we are back again. Kathy's got the popcorn. I should have done that too. I just didn't get around to finding a background. But anyway, um, I'm Louise
There's enough
Eddington.
to share.
Yes, and I don't even like popcorn. But anyway, I'm Louise Eddington, Cosmic Owl Astrology. First of all, I did run my first 10K yesterday for the Utah Food Bank, and I really want to thank everybody who sponsored me. I actually raised over $1,300 for the food bank in Utah, and I'm the top individual fundraiser, which suits my competitive side. But also, thank you for everybody that supported that. You can find me as Cosmic Owl Astrology everywhere. I also have two memberships, a Spiral Codex membership and Spiral Weave. It's like two levels of Patreon in a way. You can find those on my website, louiseeddington.com. There was something else. Oh, yes, I am doing a free presentation for Kepler College on December the 13th. So I will be sharing links to register for that. I'll be presenting on series, of course, and I'm also prepping a workshop for series in the new year. Kathy.
Hey, everybody, I'm Kathy Beal. My website is empowermentunlimited.net. That's where my forecasts and various services are. My YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian. I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Kathy Beal, where I have under 60-second snappy daily forecasts. I have four things going on that I want you to know about. The first is my shop is up and running. My witchy and whimsy apparel is now under the auspices of 7 Cent Nickel. It is a Marx Brothers reference, and there are Marx related things as part of it. This is an outgrowth of Marx Fest. It's brand new merch. Brand new vintage merch is our tagline, and there's some really fun stuff in there. I think our bestseller is going to be the pickle t-shirt. Anyway, that's thing one. Thing two, la la la. I am participating in Jill M. Jackson's Solstice Gateway. It's a free several days of various people talking about 2026. The presentations are all very, very short. They're like 30 minutes each. I will have the sign up link in my description box. It's also on the calendar at my site. Third, Annette Dion and I are having a solstice celebration on Monday, the 22nd. There's a link on my site for signing up for that. And at this point, I have no idea what the fourth thing is, so we'll just go on.
You've reminded me of one other thing. December the 11th, Dabney Lawless, Celeste Brooks, and I are just gonna just come together and do a video, but it's gonna live stream actually everywhere because I have a thing that will send it out, and we're just gonna talk about kind of a wrap up of 2025 and top things we see coming in 2026 as well. So there'll be
That'll be
lots of,
fun.
but that's free as well. So yeah, so you can catch that everywhere. That will be lots of fun because we're all quite good friends and we laugh a lot together. Celeste is hilarious. But anyway,
She is. Now, I am suggesting a change of pace
mm,
for how we go about things in today's
mm,
video. We're going to go over the news, but we had a really, really extensive blow by blow with a lot of analysis of the astrological aspects well into December in last week's video. So I'm going to refer you to that for the details. But what
mm.
I want to do today is talk about selected news items. Believe me, this is not everything. I
Because
have
there's so much happening.
so much
Oh.
happening. But Louise and I will together talk about how certain events
Mm,
play out what we have been talking about. And just to put an overview to it, there's a terrific amount of, I think Celeste Brooks has called it uh, an avalanche inside a tsunami of just information and revelations and corruption and action and things involving women
and
and sex and
and and all the people tying together that, as we've
right.
said, as we've
Hmm.
been trying to say that for over a year now.
Right. Yeah. Since November 15th, 2024.
Yeah.
Um, so, a couple of things. Now, I had said, I'm not going to foist this one on you, Louise. You may have said it. I have been saying for a long, 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 long time that the GOP would lose the House majority well before the midterms. And you've
Hmm.
also said that. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So we have our first really big signal of that on the Scorpio new moon. Marjorie Taylor Greene announced that she's going to resign from Congress as soon as her pension vests. Well,
Yeah.
she didn't say that part, but that is part of
No.
it. And
Two days after.
the scuttlebutt is that there's a lot of people in line behind her. Um,
Mm.
and we'll look briefly at her chart, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
We're
so
not going to spend a lot of time on these charts, but all these people that, well, we could have included a million charts, but all these people that are kind of resigning or being hit by the aspects. Yeah. Hmm.
okay, then I have a category called the Department of Espionage and Treason. And big news events, and that would fit all of the Scorpio energy, um, secrets, things behind the scenes, violating the laws. So the ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, met with an Israeli spy. Okay. Jared Kushner, and Steve Witkoff met with a Kremlin envoy who is under sanctions. So you tell me how he got into the country. And they came up with the 28-point Ukraine peace plan, which somebody has said looks like it was run through a Google Translate or something because it was clearly Russian talking points. And
Hmm.
there's since been a leaked call, a leak being Scorpio, right? Also, and a call, Mercury's been retrograde, with Witkoff telling a Kremlin rep how to handle Trump to get him to agree to Putin's Ukraine plan, which has, big surprise, not gotten anywhere this week.
Yeah.
Any aspects of that you want to tie more to astrology, or does that feel?
Well, no, but I mean, we've talked about Putin a lot as well, and we've looked at his chart and said that, he doesn't want peace, and he's basically come out and said it. He's saying, unless they give up all this territory, there won't be a ceasefire. It's just like the people are there. They're all everything's being revealed in my yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
so the Department of Defense is opening a court-martial investigation against Senator Mark Kelly for the video that he participated in, reminding the military of their oath of office and their duty to disobey illegal orders. And all of the Congress people who were in the video, who were all either vets or one of them was ex-intelligence, have been called in for FBI interviews. So there we got Mercury again. We have the question of lawlessness with the
Hmm.
Scorpio part. And this is all happening while Mercury is retrograde. So is this the end of the story?
No.
No. Mercury retrograde conjunct Venus in Scorpio. Here's a
Mm.
good one. There are two involving Kristi Noem, the head of Department of Homeland Security. So we have a woman uh, and aircraft. Mercury rules things that move through the air. She has been
Hmm.
ordered to return a helicopter that she
Oh.
took from a Coast Guard base that she had ordered closed, and she's been ordered to reopen the base. Woman, things flying through the air. Also, the Department of Justice has admitted in contempt proceedings. They finally gave the chain of command. This is the one where Judge Boasberg said, don't send anybody. And there were planes in the air and they didn't turn them around. So the chain of command has gone up to, she is the one who gave the sign off to violate the injunction. And the
Mm.
order and the justification is that the plane had left U.S. airspace. However, it was a plane under U.S. control. So
Yeah.
more to the story. Okay. Mercury retrograde, more to the story coming.
Hmm.
There has been a leak, well, in the Epstein files saga here, there's been a leak of FBI agents redacting like what they were doing and what they were told to do. Judge Chutkan, oh, come back
Oh,
into the
oh,
her son, by the way, Cool Chrome pointed out to me, her son is exactly on the U.S. son. She's ordered by December 5th, so by the time we come around here again, um, she's ordered the DOJ to respond to a Freedom of Information Act request for why the DOJ did not release the files in July. So more info could be coming out. Also, it turns out that remember the House Oversight Committee released a whole bunch of files. The Dems on the committee released some files they had gotten from the Epstein estate, and then the GOP members of the committee just drowned the airwaves with files it had received. Turns out they didn't redact victims' names
yeah.
from evidence documents, so victims' attorneys are unhappy.
Hmm.
Here's some Scorpio Mercury retrograde at work.
Mm,
Uh, a number of prosecutions, a number of cases got dismissed this week. Mercury is retrograde, so
mm,
may not be the end of the story. Prosecution was dismissed against James Comey for disclosure of classified information. That's
mm,
also scorpionic. And his was because, and the prosecution was disclosed against Letitia James for mortgage fraud, also scorpionic because Scorpio rules the eighth house in
mm,
the solar chart, other people's money, mortgages. And they were both dismissed
mm,
without prejudice, which means they could be refiled because the prosecutor, a woman, Venus and Scorpio, was illegally Scorpio appointed. Um,
mm,
then a new prosecutor in the Georgia racketeering case against Trump and company dropped the case again without prejudice. And
mm,
he said he was the head of the prosecutorial commission that it got handed to after Fonnie Willis was taken off, and he said nobody would touch it, so he did.
mm,
And he went through, and you can imagine why. And he went through gymnastics to explain that it really should have been a federal crime.
mm.
Again, without prejudice. That means they're free to refile if
Yeah.
circumstances change. More in the mortgage fraud end of it, Rep. Eric Swalwell of California was referred earlier this month to the Department of Justice for mortgage and tax fraud. Also eighth house, also scorpionic. He filed a lawsuit against Trump housing official Bill Pulte, who is apparently the one who's been digging around in people's private records and exposing private records to make these
Mm.
um, also scorpionic to make these prosecutions happen. So before
Only Democrats.
only Democrats,
Private
right?
records, I should have.
But
Yes.
again, it's scorpionic, right?
Yes.
That's
Oh, yeah.
all
Very.
scorpionic.
Mm,
Okay, then Venus, women, money, sex entered the Grand Water Trine, and
mm,
a federal appeals court upheld a penalty of nearly $1 million against Trump and Alina Habba, his illegally, unlawfully appointed U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey,
mm,
uh, concluding that they committed sanctionable conduct by filing a frivolous lawsuit against Hillary Clinton and James Comey. So that's, I don't,
mm.
and maybe he'll try to refer it to SCOTUS, but I don't see it getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Uh, the New York Times has this remarkable story counting Department of Justice lies to SCOTUS. In the case involving the National Guard deployment in Chicago, the district court had questioned the Department of Homeland Security's statement of the facts severely, and there were some 30 misstatements of facts that were repeated in the
Mm.
filing before SCOTUS. I just find the playing out of the astrology absolutely remarkable. I
Oh,
mean,
me too. Me too.
just,
And I find it's happening, there's too much to talk about, but, it's happening at all levels, state levels as well. Just thinking of the Tennessee special election, it's now almost too close to call. And between a woman, Democrat, who could take the seat for the Democrats, another sign that the Republicans control of the house. And you know, it all these things are turning around, emerging, things coming to light in Utah, other states. It's just steamroll, you know. It's just and Saturn. Is it today?
Saturn stationing.
Yes, Saturn stations direct, and and then Mercury on the 29th. So things are still not done with that turning around. Tidal wave, tsunami, whatever Annette
Okay,
called it. Yeah. Hmm.
a couple of more categories. So
Mm,
Venus entering the trine, bringing
mm,
a transformation of values.
mm,
For the first time since 1988, the United States is not going to commemorate World AIDS Day on December 1st
mm.
because awareness is not a strategy. Well, I think there's another reason. Scorpio doesn't rule lies.
Yeah.
Hegseth has drafted an order to cut off the Department of Defense support of the Boy Scouts
Mm,
because they've become genderless. They now allow girls and they have gay leaders. And this, the impact of this would be to prevent troops from meeting on
mm,
at military facilities, which is critical in bases overseas because that's
mhm,
where kids have continuity, families have continuity from place to place to place.
mm,
Um,
mm,
okay, and one more in this category. The Senate panel, led by Ted Cruz, is going to grill a bunch of car makers, Ford, GM, Tesla, on safety and climate technology, the auto emergency brakes and the reminder alarms for children in the car, things like that. He's questioning whether these mandates make cars, whether the cost benefit analysis is worth it. Cars ruled by Mercury,
yeah.
uh, deaths possible. That's the Scorpio part. And then the Venus, the transformation of
Mhm,
aesthetics. And I got to tell you, this one bothers me enormously. And remember, Saturn is in Pisces, ruling water, and it's the
mm,
government. Uh, Trump posted a photo of the reflecting pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial and told people to study it. He called it filth because he and the Interior Secretary plan to fix it. And he posted a video clip with Andrea Bocelli singing Time to Say Goodbye. He is going to try to fill that thing and put a pavement over it, is my bet.
oh, probably. Yeah. But just to talk about changing values, though, you know, there's a few things that come to my mind. You know, with the Venus thing,
Yeah.
like people like Marjorie Taylor Greene seeming to have some kind of uh, at least slight awakening about their deeper values. So, you know, I'm not defending her or saying that I would vote for her or anything or saying that the Democrats should welcome her in, but you know, she's still America first. But it was when women's issues were affected. She suddenly seemed to go, oh, we can't do this.
And
Hmm.
don't you wonder if some of the GOP women who have backed releasing the Epstein files
Mm.
have sexual trauma in their own past?
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Mhm.
Absolutely sure they do. I think most women have in one way or another, to a
Mhm.
degree. Yep.
Everybody has her story. So I
Yeah.
got two more brief topics. A week after a judge ruled that the National Guard presence in DC is illegal, but gave time for an appeal, um, shooting at Farragut Square hits two National Guard officers from West Virginia,
Mm,
one of whom, a woman, has died.
mm,
The shooter is alleged to be an Afghan national who'd worked with the CIA in Afghanistan. A lot of people who helped us in Afghanistan were allowed to come into the country after the troops were pulled very suddenly because of an order at the very end of the first Trump, I'm going to call it White House occupancy. Okay. We're just moving into that territory here. And this man got asylum this spring.
mhm,
Trump is now calling for halting immigration completely from
Oh,
third world countries.
and
Uh,
deporting all Islamists, he said.
all Islamists. Well, okay. Does that mean the mayor of New York City? Won't this be interesting?
Mm.
Um, and and this one makes me oh so happy. Trump has warned the military that the invasion of Venezuela is imminent, but meanwhile, Putin has already sent one of his top generals to Venezuela to train Maduro's forces.
Oh, oh, by the way, that killer of the National Guards woman. Um, Apparently, I read this morning that he was actually kind of basically a trained assassin in for the CIA in Afghanistan.
Isn't that convenient?
Isn't it? Yeah. Hmm.
Where have we come where nobody accepts any news out of this administration out of face value?
I
None.
know. Oh,
Zero.
and more MAGA Trump voters are not buying it as well. So thank heavens. Oh,
Well,
and we forgot to mention as well that there's more calls for him to release his MRI. What happened in the MRI, because there's more and more talk about his stumbling and shall we just say failing health. So yeah. Mhm.
he insulted Tim Walz and
Yeah.
called him retarded, and Walz's response was release the MRI files.
He also called another female reporter stupid.
That's three. Three.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So
Oh, and one final thing. In the Mercury ruling communication department,
mm,
the Trump phone hasn't been delivered to anybody. People paid for these things this summer, and no.
mm,
Trump branded phone.
of course. Ugh. Anyway, we could go on and on. But we're going to quickly we're not going to go in depth with these charts, but who shall we look at first? Or shall we look at USA chart first quickly and see
Yeah,
what's
and then
happening
Mike
to.
Johnson. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll just get the USA chart up and then share.
Now, as Louise is doing that, I will remind you, go listen to last week's
Mm,
breakdown of the astrology, but the final grand water trine, the final movement of Mercury in all of this is December 6th. So this
mhm.
next week is going to bring a lot of stories to a close. In my weekly forecast, I have used as my image of the week Pee Wee Herman singing La La La, connect the dots.
Oh, yes. That final blast of that water grand trine is going to really, and when it opposes Uranus again. Ooh. So we've got those coming up, but yeah, go and listen if you want the dates, because this is kind of all just building on everything. So anyway, here's the Sibley chart. Do we want the transits around the outside or just to talk about it? So
Well, what date will we put transits for?
well, I could just put them now, and I could move them,
Okay.
move them along, kind of thing, a day if you like. So it's because as we said, well, Jupiter going over the back over USA's Mercury for a start. Retrograde, that's kind of bringing more things out in the news, secrets in the eighth house as well. Jupiter's kind of expanding these kind of um, really deep kind of things that we kind of maybe suspected were happening, but they're bringing it to the fore. I read a comment this morning, or a headline that said something about all those things that people thought were conspiracy theories are kind of, a lot of them are turning out to be true, basically. But I think it's more about this web of corruption with this happening here. That's one thing that's happening. Yeah. Anything
Well,
else?
and you see that Mercury at the transiting Mercury at 20 degrees Scorpio in the
Mm-hmm.
12th house is moving into a trine to the US, Mercury at 24 Cancer, which
Mm-hmm.
tells me the next couple of
Mm. It's moving
days.
towards a third trine to the US Mercury. So
Yeah,
yes.
right.
So all
And
this stuff that's been being dug up. Yeah. we'll.
And they're both in houses of secrets and criminality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can look at that date exactly if you want me to. So
Well,
just to tell, yeah.
before you do that,
No,
notice
I'll just get
everyone.
it ready. Yeah.
Oh,
So.
okay.
Mhm.
The sun currently is at 6 degrees Sagittarius, uh,
Mhm.
trining the U.S. North Node. Now, I don't know what
Mm.
that means.
And
People waking up.
incidentally, when we quickly look at Mike Johnson's chart, he's
Mm,
got interesting connections with that point as well. Yeah. So yeah, people waking up seeing the truth, Sagittarius
mhm.
in essence. So, and there's a lot happening. Of course, Mars is coming up to oppose the US Mars. So that's kind of a look at, our actions in the seventh house of open enemies, if you like, as well, but also significant relationships. And it's a lot about our identity as well. More truth coming to light, I suspect, when Mars opposes Mars.
Well, maybe there is
Mhm.
going to be some kind of escalation towards military action that is widely opposed.
It could be that too, yeah. With it being an opposition, yeah. Lots of things, I think. There's so many aspects happening. It's amazing. But let me just move it to that Mercury because I think Mercury's been a big player in all of this. So, oh, there's that date again. Look, December the 6th.
Hmm.
Mm. And we're not far away from that. And by that point, the sun will 2 days before have just gone over the Sibley 12 degrees Sagittarius ascendant and into the first house. First house is kind of like how people see us or our identity in many ways as well. Things are starting to move out of that 12th house of secrets and hidden things into the first house. So, oof.
Well, notice that Venus at 7 degrees Sagittarius will have just come off a trine to the U.S. North Node, and
And
it's moving into an opposition to, oh boy, our okay, what are women going to do? Hmm.
Ooh, mm.
Wow.
Or could it come as, some of this, them not redacting survivors' names and things?
Oh,
Maybe, some of them will have a sudden decision to say, I don't care if my name's out there.
maybe they'll have a sudden decision to say, I'll say who did it to me.
Yes, that too. hmm hmm Because I think they're seeing that they've got great support now and things. So, but again, these aspects are kind of going to build on each other because as Mercury trines the Mercury, Jupiter will have been exact 3 minutes before going over that natal Mercury again, and then Venus coming. Oh gosh, Venus opposing that. I think that's huge actually, opposing the Uranus. So let me just get that. December the 7th. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's right after a full moon, that a Gemini full moon that squares the transiting nodes. So, and that full moon is at 13 degrees Gemini Sagittarius on the ascendant descendant of the USA, basically. And
I'm going to, well,
wow.
so two things about that.
Mm,
That creates a mutable grand cross,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which was in the sky. There was a mutable grand cross. I don't believe exactly at these degrees, but kind of close in June of 2016 when Brexit
Mm.
happened
Oh
and
yeah.
when the Trump Tower meeting was, that was a giant question mark
Mm-hmm.
about there was a statute about Russian adoptions that was in play. So there
Mm.
could be some echoes from then. But the other thing is I'm looking at
But
the fact,
also a mutable grand cross is definite change, and because it's mutable, it's change, and it's often about changed perceptions, changed
mhm.
views, changed beliefs. So just adding to all the other things we've said. So yeah, go on.
Well, and it's a real which direction are we going to go? Because
Mm,
the South Node, the default behavior is divisiveness, setting up
mhm,
boundaries, being really critical, and the North Node in Pisces is much more we're all in this together,
mhm,
empathy, the kind of behaviors that people and communities have been engaging in ever
mm,
since, oh, I don't know, Snap got threatened, et cetera, et cetera.
mhm. So, just for anybody not aware, the full moon is actually on December the 4th. So, those days, 4th, 6th, 7th, they've got this series of aspects that are just going to be bring radical change. Basically, it's like what else can you say?
Yeah.
And people are going to speak truth. They're going to kind of like and people are going to see the truth more. I think as well. There's just everything we could say more and more and more, but
Well, the one thing I do want to add has to do with Venus and Sagittarius opposing Uranus and Gemini, which is exact on the 7th. I think you had that
yeah,
up.
yeah,
Gemini and Sagittarius have a lot to do with how information is disseminated and like
mm-hmm,
social media, or
mm,
Sagittarius is more the broadcasting or the global aspect of it. Women's stories will be part of this and they might be really
mm,
shocking, but I would encourage people to watch for female journalists playing a
mm,
role and not simply being insulted. Uh,
yeah,
there is, and they may
mm,
not intentionally be playing a role.
no,
One to watch, Rosie's Insights has a video that went up today about one to watch. The Vanity Fair reporter Olivia Nuzzi, who had a sexting situation with RFK Jr.,
mm,
and now she and her ex-fiance are, she's got a memoir and he's got blogs where he's saying all kinds of things about stuff that she was engaged
mm,
in. So I would,
mm.
that one smells to me like some really juicy stuff and not just salacious, will come out, and I'm sure there will be others, other
Well,
women speaking and getting
so
their
it
message.
I think it's either women speaking or more reporting about hidden things about women as well. So
Mhm.
there's an article out there that I shared with Kathy this morning called Larry Summers, Epstein and the End Game by Greg Palast. And it's an interesting article. We can look at his chart quickly too. But I think he resigned quickly when his name was in the emails to try and get out of what was coming for him, basically. Um, but it's what some of it involves a woman, of course.
Well, do you want to put his chart up since you
Yeah,
mentioned him?
sure.
Because he's got some
And it
water.
also the article also involves some of his financial kind of misdealings, like making sure that Obama didn't do a thing with foreclosures right after he was newly elected, and so it's going. We can't read the whole article for you, but Greg Palast does some great undercover kind of recording of these things too. But hey, look where his Mercury is. Shall I bring it back till today?
Oh, yes.
But Mercury is trine the USA's Mercury. Exactly. His Mercury in the 12th house of secrets. And Mercury is going back and forth over his Mercury return. So those 12th and 8th houses are aspected in many ways. There's multiple aspects happening as well. I think more's going to come out about him with Jupiter in being involved, as we saw too. We're going to find out way more about his dirty past.
And I don't, I apologize for not being able to keep these glyphs straight, but in
Mm.
his second house between Chiron and the moon, that is,
Pholus, which
which is,
is cause and effect of
and
inventory past actions. Yeah.
Pluto has been going over that.
Mm-hmm.
It's currently backed up and it's going to go over it again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
More to come.
Much more to come. And he's having multiple aspects, other aspects. It's just kind of wild how all these things are lining up. Uranus is retrograde, and will go back to 27 degrees, which is sextile, which is supposedly a good aspect, but it depends, you know.
Opens
Uranus
a door.
is, yeah,
Opens a door.
Uranus is expect the unexpected as well, and but Uranus will station direct at 27 degrees in trine to his Uranus, again in a house of hidden secrets. Currently it's trine his Jupiter, and again Jupiter is not always a benefic,
It
especially
just
when
makes big.
when you, yeah, it just expands things, yeah, makes things huge. And so Jupiter, and as we've talked about, Venus will is opposing Uranus, and more stories about his dealings with women and money, I think. Venus.
Oh, and next
Mhm.
early next year, he's not going to go quietly into the shadows because Uranus in the sky is going to hit 27 degrees Taurus and sit there January, February, first half of March. And while that is happening, there is a solar eclipse in February, right smack on his uh, Mars in the third house,
Hmm.
opposing his Pluto, which is to say that the reset button is going to be hit in a huge way for him.
Oh, oh, huge. And currently, you know, all this Neptune or Pisces stuff, sorry, in his fourth house of his basis of security, another hidden kind of place. Saturn stations direct today, you know, in trine to his Mercury. So there's just so many aspects. And even just to shout out a couple more asteroids, Vesta, which is the state, the hearth, the secure, you know, in Capricorn, which is kind of the structures of our institutions, has just gone over his natal north node, which is kind of bringing things out again as well. So everything's just like so many aspects. We don't want to go, we don't have to go through every one. He's
You
just,
can run, but you can't hide.
oh yeah. All his hidden dirty dealings in these hidden houses, I think, are coming to light, basically. Hmm.
So how about if we look at Marjorie Taylor Greene and end with Mike Johnson? Because I think
Yeah.
he's okay.
Oh, sure. So all of these, by the way, are, we've put the sun on the first, because even though, yes, we don't know the times, so the houses, a lot of people would just say we don't know the houses. We found that they do tell us something, you know,
Mhm.
for sure. So just to clarify that we do not know the times on any of these people. But anyway, go, you start with this
More
one.
s- more surprises coming for her because
Mm,
the Venus Uranus opposition that you've mentioned that is building Venus currently in her sixth house of daily routine, opposing Uranus in the 12th.
mm,
So there are secrets that will come out very unexpectedly. Maybe this has to do with what why her income, why her net worth has skyrocketed during the
mm,
time she's been in Congress. She may have more surprises herself. She
mm,
apparently has claimed she's not going to run. There is Joy Reid seems to think she and Steve Bannon will run for president, but she's saying she's not going to run for president. Some kind of shocker still to come from her in the next couple of days or
mm.
involving her. Um, that's the first thing that absolutely jumps out at me.
She's also having her Chiron return, which everybody has around age 51. But Chiron will station direct on her Chiron. So she's having a Chiron return and a half about her identity, and Eris is sitting on her Venus on and off. I do think she is struggling in some ways with waking up. I know people think she might run with Bannon and things, but I think she's really like contemplating her future personally. Chiron returns are really big turning points for a lot of people, right? And I think, you know, a lot of what she believed to be true is kind of, I think she's having some real internal kind of pain and struggles, and I'm not, you know, excusing her for anything. But also, you know, Mars coming up to her north node with Juno, she's kind of looking at all her contracts with the people she's aligned with, I think, in many ways.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, um, who knows how it's going to end up? Because I think there's so much going on there with her that she is kind of just, I think she is having some kind of awakening. The North Node by transit has been sitting on her Jupiter. It's going to go back over her pholus, cause and effect of actions, series, nurturing, caring, things like that. So, I think she was genuinely hurt by Trump's treatment of her, to be quite honest. And she's going through some stuff, shall we say. But the new moon on in Sagittarius on December the 19th that we talked about at the end of
Hmm.
last week is opposing her Mercury. So I think she's not done talking, or things coming out about her as well that will change. Yeah.
Not at all. And she's going to be fighting for something with the
Mm-hmm.
activations of her Venus in Aries,
Mm-hmm.
with Eris sitting on it, and with transiting Mars moving into a trine. Maybe she does ally with somebody, who knows? But all of that Pisces up in her
Mm-hmm.
public house, her her public life is disintegrating, it's dissolving, it's morphing, it's going through some
Mm-hmm.
massive, massive change.
She could end up being a bit like, what's his name, the Mea Culpa podcast guy, who used to work for Trump and went to jail for him. Who I
Oh.
can't remember his name, but anyway, she could end up being like, oh, I did wrong, and now I'm going to spill all the beans. But she also could align with somebody like Bannon. There's so much changeable stuff going on in here, so.
I don't
Mhm.
think she's going to go back to private life at all.
No,
No, not at
no,
all.
no, no. But anyway, we'll see. But
Hmm.
a lot of it could go either way for sure. But that when she kind of did that video about her um resignation. Oh, of course. Look at this. Her Chiron return is opposing her Uranus too.
Oh, well,
She,
yeah.
oh, she's going through some stuff. My God. Yeah. But anyway, back to her announcement.
The
It really
impact on
kind of
her,
it felt like she was going through an awakening. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
well, the impact on her children could be part of it as well, with
Mm-hmm.
Chiron opposite Uranus
Mm-hmm.
in her fifth. And what it makes me think of is the actor Chevy Chase did all these kind of saucy leading man roles, and then he decided he didn't want his children to see
Mm-hmm.
him playing that kind of thing, and he turned into goofy dad roles. So
Mm-hmm.
there's kind of that kind of, there could be an element here of, what are my kids seeing? What am I modeling? Oops.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's possible, people, okay?
It is. People can change. They especially with this much concentrated affecting her chart, even taking away the houses. There's so much going on.
Mm, absolutely.
Ugh, ugh, it's just wow. Yeah. Anyway, and I'm not suggesting she'll turn out to be a saint, but she may change significantly, is all. Okay, lastly, Mike Johnson. We do not have a time again, so Sun on the 1st. He's an Aquarius. But we talked on the USA, when we looked at the USA chart, about the aspects to the USA's nodes. His North Node is conjunct the USA's South Node, and his South Node is conjunct the USA's North Node. So all those aspects are impacting him. Also, Pluto is now direct and moving towards the North Node. So he's kind of tied in with this US story of transformation that could lead to, actual kind of constitutional changes to make the constitution more for the people. But also, but it's digging up a lot about his role in it, and
Well,
he did
look at
that.
his fourth house.
I know, but he did that weird interview, and he's kind of going, it's really awful. I've not had a vacation, and it's like being a mental health counselor, and oh, but as the GOP splinters. So, he is, yeah. But yeah, look at his fourth house. Yeah, Uranus on his Saturn, no matter what. Um, that's huge. Hmm.
And with Venus up there in the 10th house, moving into an opposition with Uranus on his Saturn, there have
Hmm.
been many questions about why does this man not have a bank account? He's living in a home owned by a minister in DC. It's not even in his own name. His own living arrangements, his housing arrangements, his family arrangements are just also out of the ordinary. And maybe somebody
Mm.
starts spilling some things about what's really been going on with
Mm.
him.
I did not know that about his living arrangement. Wow.
Oh, it's
And I
just
didn't I didn't know he didn't have a bank account. That's wild.
no
Oh, by the way, the Sagittarius new moon, December the 19th, is right on his Jupiter. That could
in the
bring
House of
big.
Congress.
Hmm. Hmm. It could be liberation from his role for a start, or a lot of truth coming out, as Cassie said. So yeah. I think chickens are coming home to roost. Nessus is stationing direct very soon. I can't remember the exact date. That's the revealer of toxins, poisons, abuses of power on his Venus, by the way, pretty much.
In the second house, which is personal resources, money, values.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So to go into what you said about his financial kind of thing, you know, things being revealed, and what is he hiding? You know.
Well, notice that Mars in the 11th house at 17 Sagittarius is currently squaring his Venus
Oh,
at
so it is.
17 Pisces. So there could be some uncomfortable stuff coming at him. People
Mm.
uh, fighting him on all kinds of things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
But he's. I think he's definitely got some, you know, things he doesn't want people to see. Too. Let's say.
that's been clear, but I'm looking at this
Mm,
trying to see, is there a sign of loss of status or change of job or anything like that? And the only thing that might speak to that would be that full moon
mm,
you're mentioning. But notice that Chiron in the sky is hovering on his Mars,
yeah, I was
Aries,
just saw that. Yeah.
which
Hmm.
is on Marjorie Taylor Greene's Venus.
Mm. And I mentioned that I think she's going to keep saying things, and what might she say about Johnson that she might have found out. Mm.
Truly, truly, I'm just looking at all this like, what?
Mm.
It's, can you put the Sagittarius uh,
Yeah,
moon on
new
his
moon,
chart? Yeah.
absolutely. So December the 19th. And remember, if you look back at last week, we talked about this weird interstellar object I3 Atlas, being very Sagittarius, and in March it will leave our solar system with a close flyby to Jupiter. This is the day that planet, that comet or whatever it is closest to Earth as well. So look at this new moon right on there. Juno, sacred contracts, Venus so close coming up, women. Oh,
Hmm.
and money again.
Huh.
Wow.
And it's square Neptune.
Oh, so it is. Yes.
Neptune in the second. So maybe some stuff does
Mm-hmm.
come out about his completely cloaked financial arrangements, which make no
Mm,
sense. Make no sense. They just don't make any sense.
no, but also about his dealings. There's something always been very strange about this guy. It's. Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing I notice has to do with what's happening with that 29-degree Saturn in his fourth house.
Mm,
And I had mentioned earlier that Larry Summers is going to have some difficulty when the February 17th uh, solar eclipse hits the new moon in Aquarius. Well, it's also going to be very life-changing for Mike Johnson as well, because it's going to square that Saturn
mm-hmm,
from
mm-hmm.
his first house. So there could be an eviction that occurs. So if people go, oh my God, that's so long, I can't wait that long. Eclipses start, you start feeling them months in advance. So
Oh,
the
you do.
rumblings are already there. The noise is already there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I mentioned this, abuses of power sent or stationing direct. By this time, Nessus is station direct, but it's square his own Nessus in Gemini, which is also getting other aspects. I think he's got some real dirty secrets of how he got to where he got, you know.
And what's with this adopted son? What's with this
Mm,
uh black man that he let move in with his family? And
yeah.
like they check each other's phones for porn. There's
This
it, something very weird going on here.
and the 11th house, and again, yes, these are solar sign houses, but is often about adopted children, by the way. So,
Oh, well, there we go.
mhm. Mm,
There have been a lot of questions about all kinds of aspects about him,
yes, shall we
which
say?
shouldn't be anybody's business unless you're a hypocrite and
Yeah, yeah,
so.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, unless you're really covering your real identity, which is going to be interesting as Pluto approaches his North Node and Sun too, slowly. But Pluto aspects really start building, quite early. So, mhm.
You just said something that triggered something in me,
Mm,
hiding his identity. And that
mhm.
is, think of how many people in this, for want of a better word, administration are cosplaying or have changed who they are. Not
Mm.
just Mike Johnson, but the eyeliner guy.
Vance,
Yeah, Vance
Vance.
he keeps changing his identity. Hegseth is cosplaying,
Hmm.
being and anyone hasn't seen this week's South Park, I encourage you to go find it. Go to southparksucksnow.com and you can see clips. The song Danger Zone has Hegseth wielding a selfie stick like uh, a saber, singing that. So there's that. Then we
Okay.
have these women. I mean, Christy Noem cosplaying.
Mm,
There's something very, very odd here. And if you look at whoever's at the top as setting the tone, we have
mm,
this master manipulator, showman, illusionist occupying the
hmm.
White House, and he has surrounded himself with people who are not genuine. And I
Yeah,
think that Gemini full moon exacerbates all of that.
I think so. Yeah, big old light on it. Yeah, I mean, there's so many more aspects we could look at, but this is just kind of wild. They're all kind of very shapeshifty and have been throughout their careers, or shifty. Like, what you see is an illusion, which is very Pisces. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, mm, interesting. But it's
Yep.
all happening basically is I'll stop the share now. I'm just going to say all that we've kind of been trying to pull together over the last year or so, things are coming to that peak and things are being revealed, and it may not be, the actual election stuff that we started with, because Rockland County the case got dismissed, right? I think.
Oh, that was also without prejudice. I left that one
Mm,
off my list. That means, and it was dismissed because the judge said these people who brought it weren't the proper plaintiffs. But she basically she did not
mm.
disagree with the substance of the suit.
Ah.
She didn't rule on that. So, it's probably not the way it's going to go. But that was
Mm.
another example of there's more to the story, and there
Yeah.
may still be more to the story.
Yeah. So, I think this is going to fall apart in ways that we didn't foresee, but we foresaw that it would fall apart,
Hmm.
and turn around. Yeah, you
And we're
can't.
in that point.
Yeah, yeah.
We have reached it.
And everybody go and eat some for me because I really can't even stand the smell of popcorn. So, but I will munch on something else as I watch with glee. Let's say. So, as always, at this point, a lot of this is way out of any of our control. So do your self care, think locally, act globally, to quote Steve Judd. I think he says that one, doesn't he?
Levine.
Oh no, Rick Levine says that one. Yeah. And so that's why, I focused on doing the 10K for the food bank, but also I'm kind of a little bit involved in the local politics here, which is also changing in Utah. Do what you can, but take care of you first. So yeah. And Kathy, what about you?
Gravitate toward the energy of the kind of world you want to live in.
Mm, yeah.
And just trust, believe. We're heading into Sagittarius season. Ruled by Jupiter.
Yeah.
Believe it's Santa Claus time.
It's my month. With it going over all my Sag stuff, which is amazing. I've got so much. So I've got enough faith and optimism for everybody, believe me. So peace out. See you soon.